Well, today's episode is going to be a little tad different. As you know, we are now in the beginning stages of WrestleMania weekend. As you know, many shows have already begun in LA. It's going to be a bit difficult to keep up, but however, I will do the best of my ability to try to give the best wrestling reviews as possible for all of you guys watching this channel. But what I decided is okay, which one's going to be more important, which one's going to be cooler. But we'll just have to wait and see when we get there. But today we're going to be reviewing a very interesting Impact Wrestling. As you know, majority of the time they talk about the upcoming matches at Multiverse United. But however, they did show two matches that you probably wouldn't get to see. One features the debuting of Miyu Yamashita, the ace of Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling, taking on Killer Kelly, and never seen footage that could be the last match that we see Josh Alexander defending the Impact World title against KENTA. We even got, of course, Ring of Honor. This is their go home show before we head to Supercard of Honor. And, of course, finally, we have Bloodsport 9, which features a lot of good matches involved. There's some super matches we definitely going to be reviewing. And, of course, a couple of news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So let's begin with Impact Wrestling now. Majority of this show was focusing on the previews before we head to Multiverse United. Now, if you guys don't know what that show is, this is where we see the best wrestlers from Impact Wrestling take on the best wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of them out. There has been a lot of changes. But however, one thing I did like is that they showed footage you probably don't see a lot. Amongst them is, of course, Miyu Yamashita taking on Killer Kelly. Now, I did hear that Miyu Yamashita made her appearance at the Impact Zone for this particular day. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I have to say it was a pretty good match. I'm sure the fan base are very much happy to see her in Impact Wrestling. I know many of the AEW fan base wanted to see her more there, but of course, I've always believed that certain Japanese wrestlers have a perspective of what promotion they would like to appear, you know. But her opponent is someone you guys know, Killer Kelly. I liked certain moments of this match where, of course, Killer Kelly enjoys getting her ass kicked by Yamashita. We all know, if you guys know the nickname of Yamashita, the Pink Striker, you know, the kind of striking she does, it will be the kind of thing that, of course, Killer Kelly will enjoy. But the one thing that Yamashita has to be worried about is the is the clutch that would put her to sleep. But however, in this case, it was Yamashita with the skull kick that kicked her head out, putting her away with the 1, 2, 3. She is out. So I thought it was a pretty good moment. Now, this next match, this was never seen footage. Now, however, some people say this is the last match of Josh Alexander before, as you know, with the untimely of his relinquishing of the Impact Wrestling World title. Um, there are those that talked about saying that the catalyst that could have led him to the injury was back at the battle in the valley of the valley back in February. If you guys remember, it was Kushida who put Alexander in hoverboard lock. Now they're saying, could this be the possibility that led to the torn bicep? I mean, we seen they made out some good interesting points. Uh, Scott Demore says, I know Josh Alexander. He is, of course, a very stubborn person who wouldn't tap out. And As for what we saw with Macklin and Sacrifice, he knows that there are those who say, okay, maybe he tapped out of self-preservation. That is possibly the obvious thing because we know how dangerous the hoverboard lock is when it comes to Kushida. But however, this particular match was the most insane match ever. You probably would have thought, oh man, Kenta would try to do everything in his power to win, but not to mention just to put Josh Alexander to sleep. It was really amazing, but not to mention Josh Alexander had to be more careful with the arm in certain capacities. But I was like, there was a moment of course, as you know, Kenta, who is a member of Bullet Club, would do whatever it takes to cheat. He removed the safety buckle out of the corner, thinking that would work to fall in his favor. Even Josh Alexander hit his head there, but it didn't stop him from doing it. But it did put Kenta in that predicament where he hit himself there. But unfortunately, it was, of course, the C4 spike that put away Kenta, giving Josh Alexander the win. So I thought these two matches, they were incredible. I enjoy them so much. But fortunately, with Josh Alexander, this could be the last match we ever get to see until we don't know when he'll be back, but we know he'll be better than ever he was before. But they did announce that the upcoming Thursday we will see Josh Alexander relinquishing the belt. So we'll see what happens then. But for now, let's move on with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor, go home show before we head to Supercard of Honor. Opened up with Tony Nese and Ari Daivari, along with that Weasel Smart Mark Sterling taking on Aussie Open. Now, I had a feeling that this match was definitely going to go with Aussie Open because they are the most dominating team that has been breaking out right now, bursting everywhere. Not to mention, their goal is to obtain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles in the upcoming Reach for the Sky ladder match. But I had a distinct feeling that Smart Mark Sterling is going to get himself involved, but sooner or later, somebody from Aussie Open is going to whack his ass up, which he did. It happened, but it was there were no match for, of course, for Aussie Open until they put Tony Nese in the Coriolis, and then boom, 1, 2, 3 was over. Pinfall by Fletcher. It's over right from there. Now, our next match, we have Miyu Yamashita, who I just talked about on the recent review. She faces Shaza McKenzie. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized with her, she is an Australian wrestler. She made various appearances, but this is a good match for her to be in. As you know, I think this was a good opportunity for her to get her feet wet in any promotion she can get herself into. But as always, when it comes to Yamashita, she's gonna pull off a win when she applied the skull kicker. 1, 2, 3. It was over right from there. Next up, we got the members of the embassy along with Prince Nana taking on JD Griffey, Dak Draper, and RJ Sung. Now, keep in mind, as you know, the embassy will be putting the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team titles on the line against Blake Christian, R.A. Fox, and Matalik. But in this case, it was, of course, a suplex on RJ Singh by Cage to put away this match in the favor of the embassy. Now, our next match, we have the infantry, Carly Bravo, and of course the captain, Sean Dean, taking on R.A. Fox and Metalik. I thought this was a pretty good match, a good warm up for them to get themselves prepared before their big match in Supercard of Honor. But in this case, I have to say the infantry did a pretty good job, how to say, withstanding them as long as possible until what's his name? Matalik applied the springboard elbow drop onto onto Bravo, and right there it was over. Next up, we got the ROH Women's World Title. This match, unbelievably awesome. Now we have seen Athena how aggressive she can be, but we're seeing another aggressive side with Emi Sakura. I have to say, awesome match. I have to say, I like what exactly Emi Sakura was doing. I was like impressed, but not to mention it was a moment where, of course, Emi Sakura was already like in trouble. Mei Sugar tried to help, but it didn't do any good. But I have to say the aggressiveness from both ladies was amazing. But however, it was of course Mathena with a sleeper that put away Emi Sakura. But however, it wasn't done there. Of course, Ethenia wanted to dismantle Emi Sakura by putting her knee on the steel chair. But luckily, Emi Sakura tried, no, Mei Sugar tried to help until, of course, it's now been confirmed that her opponent at Supercard of Honor is none other than the magical girl, Yuka Sakazaki. They were going at it this entire time. And, of course, they tried to separate them. But, of course, Yuka Sakazaki wiped out Athena and the rest of the security team and making a statement saying that she's coming for the title. Now, don't count out Yukasaki just yet. She's a bit of aggressive too if you ever seen her one way or the other. Next match, we have a very interesting 8-man tag match. We have the Kingdom, Mike Bennett, Bennett and Matt Taven teaming up with LFI, Rush, and Jarlisico taking on Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin, and another pair of brothers, the Lucha Brothers. The one thing that was really interesting is, you guys know, Matt Taven was dethroned as the ROH World Champion by Rush a couple years ago. So it's kind of interesting that they team up. But this match was insane until they were able to pick up the win by applying the, if you get the bull, you get the horns by Rush, putting away Dante Martin, and it was over right from there. But the obvious thing now remains, who out of all 5 teams will walk out of the Reach for the Sky ladder match? Will it be Top Flight? Will it be Lucha Brothers, LFI, the Kingdom, or possibly the team that has been mostly making a statement as being the best tag team right now is, of course, Aussie Open. But we'll see what happens at Supercard of Honor. Now, speaking of Supercard of Honor, as you know, Mark Briscoe has a few words he wanted to say. As you know, we talked about how things are now different for Mark since the passing of his brother Jay. Mark said that his dreams is to win the ROH World Television title. But he's not doing it just for himself, but he's doing this for his family, everybody who's been by his side. But of course, Joe has some other opinions that he wanted to say towards him. It doesn't matter because he will not allow him to take this title away from him no matter what. But right after this whole promo, Jay Lethal came by to talk to Mark Briscoe because, as you know, Jay Lethal was rivals of Jay Briscoe. And he said that I'm not here on behalf of the other guys. This is between us. Like, and I, we go way back, with your brother and all that. I think Jay was willing to put that to the side because this is important for Mark. He's stepping into a part in his career as a singles competitor. We normally recognize him as a tag team specialist, but we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match we have is the ROH Pure Wrestling title. We have Leon Ruff taking on Wheeler Yuta. I have to say this match played a very smart role for Wheeler Yuta. He worn out Leon Ruffin as much as possible, trying to ensure that he takes his rope breaks as possible. But in this case, it was the hammerlock crossface by Yuta to pick up the win. However, he decided to continue to mock Katsuyori Shibata's stance that he sits down. No one expected it, but he showed up. Wheeler Yuta had some words to say, but Shibata had saying F that, I'm not here to sit, I'm going to kick your ass. So I think that's the kind of attitude that Shibata wanted to show. Because as you know, Wheeler Yuta will stop at nothing to prove once and for all why he is far more superior now with the Shibata is there. As you know, he defeated his student. Now he's determined to defeat the master. Now, our next match, we have a match that I think many fans are very happy to hear. We have Blake Christian versus Hijo del Vikingo. Man, we know Vikingo is amazing. You probably would be like, holy shit, every single moment of this match. You know that was going to be the case. And I was expecting a whole lot. But apparently it was a hurricanrana by Hijo del Vikingo that picked up the win. Now, Blake Christian had a interview with Dasha Gonzalez, with knowing that this match was a big loss, but however, Prince Nana, representing the embassy, decided to show up. Tried to tell him that he's better off not showing up, but Blake is not going to listen. I had a feeling that was up to no good because the embassy attacked him, but luckily Air Fox and Matili were there to show up in time. So the obvious thing is, will this match go to that? Well, we don't know. Now, our next and main event we have is Christopher Daniels versus Eddie Kingston. I thought this match was pretty good. But what I did like is about this match is how commentators talk about Eddie, because they began to question about Claudio Castagnoli, about, did Eddie Kingston was right all along about Claudio? Was he really a snake all this time? Because now people are questioning his recent behavior with the Blackpool Combat Club, changed his attitude. So that kind of is drawn into question. But we know Eddie Kingston will do everything is possible to obtain his dreams to come true, which is obtain the ROH World Title. But he was able to finish up Christopher Nails with the back fist, and that pretty much it. But of course, Claudio had some words to say. But of course, we all know that he wasn't gonna confront him regardless. But we'll see what happens at Supercard of Honor. As you know, the ROH World Title will be on the line. Claudio Castagnoli and Eddie versus Eddie Kingston. So that is something I'm looking for. I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with GCW Bloodsport. Okay, is that time of year again. As you know, when it comes to WrestleMania weekend, that means we have tons of wrestling going on. Now, I can only do so much as possible. The only thing I decided to do, because this was on, I decided, what the hell? Let's just get this one over with, because I enjoy watching Bloodsport stuff by Josh Barnett. I thought, what the hell? Let's get it done. Now, this is, as you know, the event took place on the 30th of March. Um, in the Ukraine Cultural Center, Bloodsport 9. Now, for all you guys who are new to the channel, you probably ask yourself, what the F is Bloodsport? Well, if you guys ever seen the movie Bloodsport, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Van Damme plays a real life person named Frank Dux, where he goes to Hong Kong to compete in a ancient fighting match called Kumite. This one doesn't have any ring ropes, so the ring ropes are kind of like based on the movie. That's why they call it the Bloodsport. Originally, it started with Matt Riddle, then it packed, and then it was picked up by Josh Barnett, who's been known in the MMA world, who also helped train the young lions at the LA Dojo, that sort of thing. This happens every year. Everybody, and even not to mention, WWE tried to copy their way of like trying to glamorize it uh, to their style, but it was a big failure because no one can match this type of event than GCW when it comes to it. But let's get started with our first opening match. We have, of course, Jeff Cobb versus Colin McCall. I thought this match was definitely going to be good because these guys are big dudes, but Jeff Cobb walked away with when he pounding uh, Calden, and the ref called it up saying it's over. He had to make the stoppage, so Jeff Cobb walked away with the win. Next match, we have Calvin Tankman versus Eric Hammer. Um, Many people probably would have thought that Calvin Tankman was going to walk out because he's undefeated, 2-0. But he became beatable when Eric Hammer applied the double arm wrist lock, forcing him to tap out. Next up, we got Marina Shafir versus Killer Kelly. Had a feeling this one was going to be a very interesting one because there's going to be a lot of submission tactics being used because we've seen both these ladies apply submission, and it did work in the favor. I'm not sure what Marina was trying to do. She looks more like she was trying to apply a triangle lancer, but Killer Kelly kind of tapped out before the final um, moment of the lancer was being applied. Next up, this is one of the super matches we definitely going to be talking about. We have Mike Bailey versus the returning Kota Ibushi. Now, those who don't remember, Kota Ibushi's contract with New Japan has been done for. He made the announcement he will be participating in this particular show. I thought this show was pretty good. I enjoyed it the most because you got Mike Bailey, who's amongst the best in the world, who you probably would have been holy shit the entire time. But I was impressed by everything. But Mike Bailey uh, was knocked the f out by Kota Ibushi when he applied the Kamigoye. I think people compared the Kamigoye to the V trigger. No, the Kamigoye is where you grab the person's wrist and then you swung them their faces to the knee, and bam, it was right there. You knocked them out. So it was a pretty good match, I think. I do know that Kota Ibushi will appear again for another GCW event, the Joey Janela Spring Break, where he faces Joey Janela. Now, our next match, we have not next match. They introduced the Josh Barnett's Lifetime Achievement Award, and Chavo Guerrero actually presented this award to Eric Paulson, who's been involved in the MMA game. Who's a legend. He put out an interesting speech, and I don't know much about MMA that much, but yeah, that's what really happened. Next up, we have Yuya Uemura versus Bad Dude Tito. Now, originally, Yuya was supposed to face Alex Coughlin, but Alex Coughlin volunteered to become the opponent for Jon Moxley, so they put Bad Dude Tito. But however, Bad Dude Tito seems like he has like a personal vendetta towards Yuya Uemura. If you guys remember, Uemura and Christopher Daniels defeated TMDK at the tournament for the Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. You probably would have thought that this is what Bad Dude Tito needs, this retribution, which he did got when he applied the ankle lock and forced him to tap out. And of course, he decided not to show no respect to Uemura because he beat him. Next up, we got Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus JR Kroos. I thought this match was going to be a big hoss fight. It was pretty good. I really loved it. But, however, it was Davey Boy Smith Jr. with the crossface that put away JR Kroos. I thought it was pretty good. Next match, we had Johnny Bloodsport, or as we know him, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, John Morrison. He takes on, what's his name? Royce Isaacs. I thought this one was a very crafty match in some capacity. Now, if you ever seen wrestling where it's like grappling or catch wrestling, where you're trying to try to find ways to maneuver whatever your opponent was trying to do, like whatever submission they're planning, you can counter. And I think that this match served very well on that. But it was, of course, a headlock by Johnny Bloodsport to put away Royce Isaacs, and damn, it was just like that. Now, our next match, we have Alex Coughlin taking on Jon Moxley. You probably would have thought this match was going to be brutal. It kind of did, but Jon Moxley did pick up the win when he applied the Bulldog choke, and boom, just like that, it was completely over from there. Now, this next match, I have to say, is one of the most biggest matches we've seen. We have Timothy Thatcher taking on the undefeated Josh Barnett. So that kind of tells everything. I thought it was a pretty good match. You probably would have imagined that these two men would do everything in their power to put one of them in a submission. Now, Timothy Thatcher tried in certain capacity to apply the Fujiwara armbar, but it didn't do so well. But however, somehow at the last minute, he was able to put Josh Barnett down with the with the knee bar and force him to tap out. Timothy Thatcher became the first person to beat the undefeated Josh Barnett. So I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was really fun. So you guys should check it out. I think that's pretty much it with all of our reviews. I believe it's time for some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So this is what we have to update everybody what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. As you know, we continue to announce more participants for the first ever Queen of Indies that will take place on May 13th. This time they announced someone you guys already know, Masha Slamovich. Now, there has been talk amongst fans in Twitter hoping that Masha Slamovich will be in it. But someone kind of gave this away, said that, that it's already been confirmed prior before the announcement was made that Masha will be involved. So I have to say it's going to be a good one. Now, as you know, when for Keiji Mutoh, if you guys know, he's already here in the states to accept his award for the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, originally we were he well he observed the WWE tryouts. I think he was fascinated by what they can do. He mentioned that he will love to do something like this back in Japan, like probably start his own uh, developmental program. We know he has trained some good wrestlers in the past. I mean, one of them you guys already know. We're talking about the winner of the New Japan Cup. Sanada is amongst those people. So we'll see what happens then. What he does as soon as he gets back to Japan. For all you Ice Ribbons fans out there, I know there's been talk about them, but exciting news with one of the wrestlers. You may know her, Yappy. Those who know Yappy's background, Yappy is not a full blown Japanese wrestler. She's originally from the Philippines. She announced that she was on her way home to the Philippines, but some inciting news has come across. Now, you probably think uh, you'll probably say, get the F out of here. She just announced that she will be making her first wrestling appearance in her home country of the Philippines. The promotion is called Phil Pro Wrestling. That will take place on the 23rd of April. She's very excited for this because she said this is the first ever wrestling match outside of Japan. I don't think she's ever wrestled outside of Japan since she's been mostly participating with Ice Ribbon. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What I've been hearing. So it's great news. Now, it's interesting news for everybody. Fightful Select has already uploaded on their webpage interview with Yoshi Wrestler. You guys know her very well, at Yasukawa. Now, those who aren't familiarized with at Yasukawa, Yasukawa has been well known in the Yoshi Wrestler world for that shoot incident that took place in Stardom years ago. Let me refresh everybody's memories about that. What happened is there was some sort of antagonizing between her and another Yoshi wrestler named Yoshiki that resulted in Act to be having her face being all swollen like hell. Um, it was considered at the time as one of pro wrestling's dark ages because that was the most brutal thing that anybody's seen. But local podcaster here in my hometown of San Diego, Eric Howard, made it his primary mission to see if he can get her to come down to the States. Apparently, they conducted the interview, and if you guys know this, she is currently right now at WrestleCon. If you guys who are attending WrestleCon, I hope you guys stop by and say hi and buy some merch and that sort of thing. That's pretty much it what we have with our news updates. So I think we'll just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. Now, however, as you know, the WrestleMania weekend has already begun. There's a lot of wrestling that's already been put out there. I'm going to do as much as possible of my ability because we're going to be having a lot of wrestling. Not to mention, we have the WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania for 2 nights. That's going to be difficult. Now, am I going to be covering WrestleMania? Well, we'll see what happens there because like I said, there's a lot of wrestling to put out for everyone. It's going to be chaotic. And not to mention, Saturday will be the day where I'll be working from the morning to the afternoon, but we'll see how that goes down. Haven't decided if there's going to be any other review before I do AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up, but anything else. I know some of you may be following what's been going on with the Ice Ribbon stuff. As you know, I've been following this very bizarre thing that I put in the recent news updates. But if there's any more things about that, I'll be gladly to announce it. But for now, we'll just end it like this. And I'll be telling you guys that I'll see you on the next DWZ time. same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.